Hare Krishna. Very warm welcome to everybody for this morning's Japa Yagna. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ashtasaki ki jai. Shri Shri Panchatattva Bhagwan ki jai. Rajapur Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai ki jai. Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai. So firstly on behalf of my leader, we thank all the Japa leads who came in and performed the service nicely. As always, we move to the next interesting part of the morning program, the Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. So before we go into it, do a very short kirtan and then move on to today's verse. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Gandharvika Giridhari Gaura Hari Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Anantadev Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Anantadev Nitya Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaur Hari Bol Srila Prabhupada ki jai Patit Pavan Gurudev ki jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamukirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. So, reading from chapter Canto 1, chapter 9, text 28. The chapter is titled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Supreme Lord Krishna. So, if someone is free, could repeat after me. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. Dharma Artha Kama Mokshamscha
Dharma Artha Kama Mokshamscha
Sopayana Yata Mune
Sopayana Yata Na Mune
Sahopayana Yata Mune
Sahopaya Yata Mune
Nana Kyana Itihesheshu
Nana Kyaneti Yesheshu
Varnayamasya Asa Tattvavet.
Varnayam Asa Tattvavet.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Toward meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and the statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with truth. So, purport, a very small one, let's go ahead. Incidents mentioned in the Vedic literature, such as Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, are factual historical narrations that took place sometime in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were assorted without chronological references. Besides that, they happened on different planets, in different universes, and thus the description of narration is sometimes measured by 3 dimensions. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of this incident, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhishma Dev described such narrations before Maharaj Yudhishthira in reply to his different questions. Okay, so we shall discuss this important verse today. But before that, let me seek all the prayers of all the assembled Vaishnavas, my Guru Maharaj and all the previous Acharya. Soma Jnana Timirandasya Gnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gada Makyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitan Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhan Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Padai Krishna Krishna Shri Swami Ram Namo Charipara Nitapatidai Gauramadai Nagarak Ramadharini Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, skip my screen. Just give me a second. So, Hare Krishna. Again, I'm doing this for my purification. These are some wonderful verses which we've been hearing from very nice devotees. So let's just see what we could, churn out in today's verse. Okay. So in the very beginning, say Srimad Bhagavatam, I think first canto, the very second verse, Vyasdev, Sukadeva Goswami writes nicely, Dharma Projhita Kaitava Atra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satatam. Very big words. But what it means is, the translation is completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, okay, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots threefold miseries. Look at this important point. These such truths uproots threefold miseries. The beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasdev is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the Srimad Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge of the Supreme Lord is established within our heart. So if you see two main points, following the Dharma can uproot the threefold miseries, and immediately by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord Krishna can come and occupy in our hearts. What more do we want? With this understanding, we'll just go into this verse. So we saw His Grace Gopal Krishna Karunadas and Bhakti Vijeta Mataji, all of them very nicely explained what is continuing the Varnashrama principles. Okay. Vijeta Mataji, of course, gave us a lot more details of the activities of the king and other details. Now, I shall try my best to give something from these few verses, this verse at least, maybe a story and a few important points from this. Okay, so by hearing all this, what happens? We get inspired, and we can make faster, not steady, fast track in the advancement of spiritual life. Okay, so here what's happening? Bhishma Dev is speaking, rather convincing Yudhishthira Maharaj about Varnashrama systems. Is talking about duties, responsibilities, all based on character, right? A doctor doesn't treat a patient, in general. He says, all of you, I'm going to do the same. No, he treats each one based on the condition. So this verse, we can hear today, Bhishma Dev giving some instructions, giving some lessons to Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? If you actually see this, this in Mahabharata, this entire discussion between Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthira Maharaj goes on for many verses, maybe 2-3 chapters, I was told. However, if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, it occupies what, including this verse, just 4 verses. All that knowledge transfer happened only in this, for as far as Srimad Bhagavatam is concerned, in these 4 verses. And Yudhishthira Maharaj understood everything. Okay, whereas in Srimad Bhagavatam, very beautifully, Bhishma Dev's prayers is glorified, the way he's glorified Supreme Lord, all that is explained very nicely. Okay, so in the very first line, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshamscha. So what does it indicate here? It was Bhishma Dev was trying to, discuss these 4 key points. Okay, now we might be wondering, how is it that Bhishma Dev, he's a Mahajan himself, and who is Yudhishthira Maharaj? Very, very close associate of Krishna, and he is called Dharmaraja. Why is it then these people are talking about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha? What is the benefit? 1 second. Okay. Why are these exalted devotees discussing about this? So one of the key points is that we need to understand Yudhishthira Maharaj was going to take up the post of a ruler, or the king going to rule the entire Bharatavarsha, right? So Bhishma Dev wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj to be equipped with all the expertise required for the service. So, and even these points are going to be discussed or was taught to Yudhishthira Maharaj from the point of view of bhakti, right? So many times we have seen all of us do some services at the temple. Every devotee does a lot of services based on his capacity. So sometimes a devotee may need to have, do a management course, right? Why? Because if this degree is going to improve his, conducting of the temple management, then it is great. It is definitely, approved. But however, if that degree is just to show off, or to try to acquire one more degree next to your name, then it doesn't make any sense. I was told even many of the GBC members have done so many such courses to run our entire samstha, ISKCON samstha. Okay, so here Yudhishthira Maharaj, by discussing, hence Yudhishthira Maharaj was taught all these, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Okay, a devotee as such is an expert in all the subject, must be an expert in all the subject. Bhishma Dev was instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj about all dharmas. So bhakti life, devotee becomes an expert, right? In fact, many times that's why we say that a devotee who works in any of the corporatism much better effective than many other people, because he knows he's started the day with glorifying, hearing, doing sadhanas, then he's very charged up in the morning. And like Prabhu says, entire positivity is coming in the morning after you finished your sadhana of 3-4 hours, and then go and work what is there and come back and again do devotional service. So a devotee becomes expert in all subjects, and his ultimate life aim is to glorify the Supreme Lord, right? Now let's just see what was Bhishma Dev's experts. Okay, he was expert in all the fields. Okay, Bhishma Dev was a Mahajan. There was no lack of any what is say quality or information from him. Great warrior, you could call him a great manager because he commanded the whole army. expert in Dharma. Okay. Also, what is glorified in Srimad Bhagavatam is that he was the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord. He was a great counselor, a great management leader, whatever, super teacher. He was, and most importantly, he was one of the 12 Mahajans. So, so much so that Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was the Dharma Raja himself, used to get things clarified from Bhishma Dev. So throughout the discussion of these four subjects in this verse, there was a very important third line. If you see, Nana Akyapa Iti Sheshu. So what was it? It was various recitations of historical narrations in the history he was taught. Now, yeah, okay. Now, let us see how, you see, we all know that, right? Vedas have been divided and, what is the history of, what is the relevance of history in this modern day? We'll just see that. Of course, modern day history is no use to us, but whereas Vedas, they were divided in primarily broadly two categories, Shruti and Smritis. The Shrutis or the Upanishads, which it comes under that, they were a lot of philosophical truths. You could even call it abstract truths. Okay, a lot of analysis, and we need to learn a lot of tattvas, the truth from that. A little serious subjects were mentioned there. Okay, also in Shruti, there were a lot of past incidents have been recorded and explained in detail. Okay, the very fact that it is itihasa, okay, it is called iti and asa, and this and that happened, a lot of details have been mentioned. Okay, many a times, what does a modern scientist, modern historians do? They try to understand the Shastras based on his own jnana, or what we call it as a limited understanding, or his own concocted version. He tries. Obviously, he doesn't understand because it's not really based on sequence. So he thinks these are all mythology. So when you read this Vedas, Puranas, Prabhupada starts by writing in this purport saying incidents mentioned in this Vedic literature such as Puranas, Mahabharata and Ramayana are factual historical narrations that took place in the past, although not in chronological order. It does not have a sequence. What does people do? The moment you don't understand who's somebody's king is mentioned, then suddenly there's no mention of their son, suddenly something else is there. They get bewildered. Then they say, oh, there is a lot of gaps. There's a lot of untruth told here or some nonsense, and it says mythology. Okay. And you just see what the historians do. Okay. They read a little bit of history, which is if you see what all we studied in our history, a lot of recorded sequence. This son came, the son conquered, he had 100 sons, 50 sons, that fellow conquered. Okay. And it just came and ruled. Technically, they came, they ruled, they did a lot of atrocities and they went back. But that they find it very great. What can it be applied anywhere? Has any of our history helped us? There is no practical application. Nor it can be used for earning money. Nothing can be done with this history. So now, since we discussed about the recent modern history, what are the benefits of reading from our history, our Puranas, our Vedic Shastras? Let's see this. We are getting good lessons from this. We learn. In fact, we sometimes learn our lives, how our life should be based on this history. A lot of benefits we get. So, comparatively, the modern history, no gain. Okay, you all know this very famous pastime. Okay, I'm just narrating this so that we can understand how the focus of the current day modern times are. So this was in West Bengal. There was a great Pandit. I know it is few have heard about it, but let's just say it because it's got good relevance here. He was a Pandit, so he had to cross the river. So he sat down with a boatman. You know what Pandits do, right? They are always puffed up. They want to show off their knowledge. So it was an evening time, many stars in the sky. So this Pandit started asking, oh, do you know this star? Do you know this? Do you know anything about astronomy? So boatman was a simple guy. He said, I don't know anything about astrology. But he says, look, I still know what are directions. You see, because boatman needs to keep heading north. He sees one Dhruva Tara. He says, that one I know. So that way I come to know which is east, west, north, south. And my job is to reach people the other side. Okay. With this knowledge, my service is done. And he also said, I know Krishna is supreme and I need to surrender to him. So basically, he had all the knowledge technically. But look at this Pandit. He was not very happy. He was very angry because he could not display his talent. And this person was seemed to be very relaxed, even not knowing all this. He said, if you do not know astrology, 25% of your life is gone. Then as they were, kind of cruising through, there was a fish which came onto the board. Then this Pandit, naturally, right, he wanted to show off something constantly. He said, do you know which species this fish is? Then this boatman, as always, he says, "Main to shakahari hu. I don't eat all this. So that way, I don't need to know which species these aquatics are. And I'm very peaceful with doing my job. I'm very happy, and again starts singing bhajans. Now this making this person very angry because he's unable to, kind of debate and win. So he again starts saying, if this is the case, you don't know about marine biology, 50% of your life is wasted. Now, as they get nearer, they can start seeing the other part. So this person still wanted to, the Pandit, he says, you can see all the trees. Do you know which species or whatever? What do you call those? Name botany or biology? Do you know that? This person says, look, I just eat simple few bindis, beans, some vegetables. And that is all I need to know. I don't need to know what that. This was totally, by then, this person was absolutely irritated. So he says, Arey, you don't know this botany, biology, you have 75% of your life is gone. Suddenly, what happened? Weather was disturbed, there was rains, and the boatman said, look, now that you can see the trees, which means you can see the other side of the shore, now, which means the land is nearer. Now there is a lot of water going, because mine is a very small boat. There's a lot of water is going to come in, and my boat might sink. Now we are all going to drown. I am sure by now you all know what was his question. He simply asked the Pandit, oh Pandit ji, do you know how to jump and swim? Pandit says, what you are asking me? I don't know how to swim. So at this stage, he made this wonderful statement saying, oh, that if you don't know how to swim, simple life-saving skills, your 100% of your life is waste and you are probably gone too. So this was why this was narrated, because we can learn that from the Shastras, what it teaches us if we learn, right, to utilize. It's so beautiful, right? Because what is one of the objective of learning the shloka, okay, is what? From all the Shastras, what is that which we need to learn? What is the essence we need to take, right? What is it? Finally, it says, Ante Narayana Smriti. So if we learn to remember the Lord at the time of death, then it's complete knowledge you have, right? In Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, right? Apart from these following subjects, if you know anything else, it is waste of time or whatever, right? So, or these are the subjects which are called knowledge. Rest and all, it's not going to help you to get out of the cycle of birth and death, right? What is the use what is the use of knowing all this complex knowledge, right? If he doesn't know the simple life-saving talent, what is the use? So we are not learning. Now the very important point is this. Now, if we are not doing what we are doing every morning, that is deeply analyzing, picking up few points from these verses, if we are not doing an analytic way of studying or going deep little into these purports and churning them and discussing like this, then there is no use, right? In fact, even more horrible is that if some people come and says all these shastras are Puranas or mythology, like most of them say, because they can't understand, right? They are not in, simply because they are not put in the order, because what is important is here, the devotion is important, bhakti is important. That way, this entire Srimad Bhagavatam is structured. So if what we can say, if murk or foolish person, if that person thinks that all these things is a lie or this hasn't happened, right? Uh, so the learnings, we have to utilize these kind of opportunities where we are not just reading and going, continuing. Of course, there are some benefits just by reading and hearing, but if we are not digging deep, if we are not analyzing these subjects and discussing with our fellow peers and seeking our leaders' opinions, then there is not much use of it, right? See what happens to the modern, history, or what do they write about the stories. There was this very famous story during my working days. I'm sure many of you know. I can say that it's a Potter series, right? What was going on? There was just one lady writing a few books called the Potter series, and there was a movie made out of it. Not just that, there was some serials, there was some computer games done out of it. What was the basis? Just some imagination of one lady, right? And some other extra added imagination by a few movie makers and computer game specialists and things like that. What was the benefit from that? Nothing was benefited. Of course, there were a few people who were benefited. One was a writer who was benefited with a lot of money, probably the publisher, the movie makers, and the people who made the games. Rest of it only spent money by seeing it. Okay, was there any learnings from that? Everybody thought it was exciting, imagination, just one person imagination, and everybody were running behind it. Absolutely crazy, right? Whereas history has got many interesting, exciting, you could even say adventurous stories by which, and true stories, and these are rejected or downplayed by all this modern people because calling it mythology. What is not true, what is someone's imagination is very popular. That is why acharyas give so much importance on printing the books, reading the books, and distributing the books. Thankfully, we have some, in a very small way, some little Krishna, Chota Beam. I can see the kids are very benefited. Okay, instead of showing some English rhymes or poems. Okay, so acharyas gave a lot of importance to books, right? Printing books, scriptures to be printed, distributed everywhere. And we all know how lovely, how we enjoy this book distribution, right? That way, these scriptures, which are true stories, can be inculcated in our lives. And then what was the biggest gain? Spiritual knowledge. And then by doing that, what can happen? Final result, attaining kingdom of God. This is the true labha. True labha from all this is to reach to the kingdom of God, the true gain. This is what we get to learn from the Shastras. Okay, so it's 5 more minutes. I will just look at one other important point in the second line. Sahopayana yata mune. Yata. Yata is described as by word to word meaning by Srila Prabhupada as it is. I'm sure this is a very famous word. The concept, right? If there is a concept and if we make it easy to understand, right, using some simple analogies, stories, then it is great. Now, Bhishma Dev had ensured, though, while he was teaching the essential principles of various religious duties to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhishma Dev saw that the subject matter is not what you can say, it's not diluted or deviations were not there. Through the katha, through in fact, many acharyas also explains a lot of stories. Okay, this keeps happening in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, many persons in the past have become purified by the knowledge of me, and thus they've all attained transcendental love from me. This is from 4th chapter, I think 9th, 10th verse. Okay, so how to see this world? Sukadeva Goswami says that previous acharyas, rather, while answering Parikshit Maharaj answers, right? What is he say? This is real intelligence. Shastras, we need to see this world, how he says, not from our eyes, from our ears. Okay, only intelligent ones learn from Shravanam. There is this famous saying, right? Experience is the best teacher, and fools learn it no other way, right? So if you see what does Shastra explain, two type of people. One is an Asura who does not follow Shastras, and the other one is a Bhakta who follows Shastras. So we can learn from this that who is intelligent and who is foolish. What does a Bhakta do? Study Shastras, follow them and most importantly, the practical. We used to have this RDUA, We used to read, we used to discuss, we used to understand, and the last part is very, very important: application. Okay, we actually use this these from these lessons. We see what we can take it for an application, right? So, what does a person who, this is the intelligent one, the bhakta does. What does a foolish do? He says, no, I will experience each and everything and learn from the mistakes, right? He will keep on learning throughout his life. Sometimes they keep on learning because he keeps on doing mistakes and say, I've learned this, I've learned this. This is not, who will say he's an intelligence? But sometimes by doing this, such a risk that he still may not learn from his mistakes. Okay. So what do we understand from this? Generally, whatever we've been discussing is that for all the material problems, there is only one solution. What is the solution? Spiritual solution. From the history itself, we can find out Sukadeva Goswami is trying to teach Parikshit Maharaj when Parikshit Maharaj was saying, I think it's in the 5th canto. Why I'm remembering that is because we are using that, we are currently in the temple. That's a series which is going on, where so many, how do you save from the current Kali Yuga? How can we save people from all these anarthas? And so Sukadeva Goswami says only bhakti can save them from all these miseries. Okay. So we know that the holy name is the only savior of the in the modern Kali Yuga. Only by glorifying the holy name. Actually, Sukadeva Goswami tells this. Just to glorify the holy name, Sukadeva Goswami tells the story of Ajamila to Parikshit Maharaj. So much detail, right? We enjoy in the Srimad Bhagavatam class in every Sunday. Right? After, you all know the Ajamila stories. After losing Brahminical characters, he lost this, he sent people outside, brought a prostitute home, broke all the rules and regulations. This, I mean, so much sin that at the age 80, he had probably a 5-year-old child. But what is the interesting key aspect here is somehow by the mercy of the Lord, he called his last son's name Narayana, right? And we all know, Sukadeva Goswami says that when Ajamila can get so much benefit from just calling his son's name, right? And go back home, back to God. Just imagine what will happen to the devotees, wonderful devotees of Radha Gopinath Circle who are so enthusiastically attending the morning program, chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. What can happen? Definitely you are on the right track, the right road. No need to look left or right, on straight on, right? So, so by chanting the holy name, when I say chanting, I always pray to everyone that, we have one of the best opportunity to go back home, right? We all, if you really see the Goloka chart there, I'll take last minute and I'll close it. I know it's 6:45. There, where we have this Goloka mentioned little and a lot of higher planetary systems, Atala, all your dark planets downwards. And then after that, we all know that Shwetadeep, all of them. Finally, on the top, we have beautiful lotus where Radha and Krishna is there. But then if you see, there was a beautiful line from the earthly planet going straight up to Krishna. And when you go closely and watch that line, it says Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which means simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, reading Shastras, discussing, following the sadhana, we can directly go up to Goloka Vrindavan. Okay, so when having said that, I humbly pray every time that somehow by all the Vaishnavas Mardi, I keep chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and go back home, back to God. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. These are the few points which I could understand and share today. Please correct me if I made any mistakes or which have gone out of the subject, or add any points which I'm surely have missed, I'm sure. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your nice class. We will keep it open for participants. Then I'd like to add some points later.
Sure. Hare Krishna, devotees, it's 6:46. If there is any points which you would like to add or any.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
So it was a wonderful class, and this was the same question, I think 3 days back in the office, all of the colleagues are sitting and discussing, and somehow Prabhupada has answered my doubt in today's session. So about the same mythology, we were discussing how it's been termed, even in the Google, it says that it's a mythology.
Right.
But Prabhupada here tells that, the scriptures will not be revealed to fools. So you
Yes.
nicely explained it, Prabhu. So I've got my doubts clear. So thank you for a beautiful session.
Yes, Mataji. Prabhupada so clearly says, keep only focus on the essence and not chronology or sequence. That's not what we are supposed to do. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other devotee wants to add any point?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dana Pranam. Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Prabhuji, for the really wonderful session. Here, how you added that, how we can use our management, whatever we learn. Again, that also we can use in spiritually. We feel like, why we learned this? Why we learned this? At the end of the day, Krishna conscious everything. But no, you have to use that also here. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
ma'am. Srila Prabhupada was so intelligent that even in those days used to what life membership form. There also Prabhupada had a line saying, what is that person, whoever is paying the donation, expert in? So his profession or his core competency was always asked, which means Prabhupada is always seeing even a donor's qualities can be used in serving Krishna. So wonderful.
Right.
He had made things
Right,
for
sir.
us.
Great. Thank you. Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
So,
Prabhu.
Prabhu, so here in the translation, it is mentioned that Vishmadev himself well acquainted with the truth. So, what is the truth here? This is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These are the four things, normally people, they would like to have ultimate salvation with this. So, dharma means it is occupational duties. Artha means economic development.
Economic development.
Kama means fulfillment of desires.
Desires.
People, they beginning, they try to do some duty, and with that, they would like to develop themselves. Thereby, they can fulfill all their desires like roti, kapda, makan, or any other things like. Then finally, they want to have a kind of a moksha. But, this moksha has got different mokshas are also there.
Yes.
5 types of mokshas. And people are unaware of all these things. So, importantly, there is another fifth element is Panchama Purushartha. Panchama Purushartha is Krishna consciousness, Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema. And if this Panchama Purushartha is not achieved, one's life is incomplete and he cannot have the supreme destination. But here in the translation itself, it is mentioned that Varanyam Asha Tattvavid. Tattvavid means one who knows the truth. Here, Bhishmadev, he knows the secret of all the Vedas and everything. That's why at his deathbed, he wanted to see Krishna, and he wants to attain the Panchama Purusha. So that's very important. So if you take any religion or any other spiritual organization, if they are not focusing on the Panchama Purushartha, which is Krishna Prema, we daily at the end of our temple program, morning temple program, we also say, which is the desired success?
Krishna Prema.
Krishna Prema, we say that one. And if that is not achieved, their whole spiritual life is completely incomplete. Okay, this is what I wanted to mention.
Beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So, thanks, Prabhu, for this Panchama Purusha point. 5 types of mokshas, of course. Many of them, like you said, many of them don't even aware of what is moksha. They say, I want moksha without realizing that just will take them to spiritual world without any association of devotees. Fantastic, Prabhu.
So
Thank
it's
you.
Srila Prabhupada who has brought to the whole world what is the Pancham Purusha.
Yes.
And he refuted almost all Mayavadi's philosophy or
Yes.
any other philosophy. He has completely defeated with Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita very nicely. So Pancham Purushartha very nicely explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Maybe
That's why.
one other day.
Like, many of them ask why I can't read other books. This is also Bhagavad Gita in Chinmaya Mission and other things. So I encountered such in one of our classes. So I'll say just go and see which book has made devotees all around the world. Very simply, you can understand from that. And they kind of finally agreed, saying, yes, this is the Srila Prabhupada's as it is what is made devotees all around the world, or his translations are which is made devotees. So it's a beautiful thing. Point. Thank you very much. Anybody else? It's 6:53. As a point, or want to add, or want to? If not, any announcements?
Yeah, the important announcement is
Yes.
today all the Puri Yatris,
Yeah.
they can come on the line. Maybe 5 p.m. Is it okay? 5 p.m. they can log in.
Quickly, if you can, by show of hands, if you can just show your hands.